Hello, and welcome everyone to my Fire Emblem 7 Meh Units Only Ironman. I am making this series to chronicle my 13th attempt of this challenge and provide something of a guide to newer players into the Fire Emblem series as a whole. Most of this information will be useless to veterans, but I did learn quite a lot from this experience and want to share that with you all. But before we get into that, I should probably go over the rules of this Ironman challenge. As an Ironman implies, every character who falls in battle is gone from the run, and if we game over at any point, the run is over and I must start a new attempt. I am not allowed to use any flyers, cavalry, or pre-promotes that are given throughout the playthrough. The only exceptions to this is using Marcus and Lowen up to chapter 14 to allow us to the Priscilla recruitment trio, as well as a safer Urk recruitment. The run officially starts on chapter 12, as I use a save that has gone through the entirety of Lin hard mode, and chapter 11 is just a snooze fest of a route map. Some non-promoted units are benched such as Raven because of their out-of-the-box usefulness, and I want to make this as difficult as possible. But they may be used in other chapters later on, just as an extra body if need be. The only other advantage I give myself is that I can recruit any unit and use them for the chapter they are found in, with minimal combat participation, mostly being used for shopping and side objectives. With the rules out of the way, let's get into the run. In Chapter 12 of this Meh Units Only Ironman, we get access to Matthew the Thief, Sarah the Cleric, Hector the Axe Lord Armor Knight, Oswin the Armor Knight, Ellawood the Sword Lord, Rebecca the Archer, and the Axe Fighter twins Bartray and Dorcas. We are also accompanied by an M4 Sherman tank named Marcus, and the L6 light tank Lowen. These will be decommissioned in a few chapters, but their mobility and overall tankiness will be thought of fondly and missed dearly when they inevitably retire. We start off by sending our two Armored Knights east to deal with the onslaught of incoming Brigands and Pegasus Knights. These units pose no real threat, but can end up trapping our two Armor Knights and sneaking over to squishier units if they are not quick enough in dispatching them. We then send our Sherman tank to extort villagers for monetary gain, but all they can offer us is a book. Luckily, a nearby apothecary purchases it for 4,000 gold, and we are able to acquire early medical supplies. We then snake around the units in the lower part of the map and cherry-pick shirtless men with Ellawood, Rebecca, and the Axe Twins. Thanks to Dorcas having Lin mode training, he is actually quite formidable and helps deter any real threat to our fragile lord's life. And even though it is a bit shaky at the top of the map, we are able to clear out the more immediate threats and slowly regroup with Ellawood at the center of the map. We then place Oswin, Marcus, and Matthew in a diagonal formation to hold the boss Zagan back. Zagan sees the most potential damage on Matthew and proceeds to attack him for several turns with a very low chance of hitting, which gives valuable chip experience to our Thief and Archer. The rest of the units proceed to take a confiscated lockpick and red gem to be smelted down for pure profit, which is then used to provide extra armaments to our core members. Zagan eventually gets low enough for us to send Ellawood to kill him for a surplus of experience, resulting in decent overall level ups. In Chapter 13 of our FE7 Meh Units Only Ironman, we get access to Guy, a wandering Sacaean swordsman with a valuable killing edge. He is unfortunately an enemy at the start of the map. We start off by sending Dorcas and Bartray west to deal with a few Pegasus Knights and cavalry, while we send the rest of our units east down a narrow hillside and end up slowed to a crawl for the first couple turns, but are able to push through with a few lucky hits. This allows our Sherman tank to beat a brigand to a nearby village we wanted to ransack. Unfortunately, the village was warned ahead of time by the previous village we ransacked in Chapter 12, and they proceeded to place a deadly mine to destroy our tank's treads. Thankfully, the shirtless man warns Marcus in time, and he is able to disarm and reuse the mine elsewhere. We repay this kindness by stabbing the man with a sword and lance in his abdomen, resulting in his death. Afterward, we send the tank to invade a fort the enemy made, stalling out reinforcements and causing a bunch of units to cluster around the heavily fortified tank. We proceed to remove the majority of the threat before Guy approaches our group to protest our crimes against bandit kind. Matthew tells the hostile Guy that he owes the smooth-talking thief lunch money and therefore cannot attack the army he is part of. Guy's ego is pulverized by this realization and he is forced to switch sides to avoid further humiliation. We then proceed to have Dorcas clear more cavalry on the northern flank of the castle, while Bartray goes to another nearby village and tries to steal valuables from its occupants. But he has a 2 in stealth, and he is smacked multiple times by villagers with torches. Luckily, they only have 1 strength, and Bartray comes out unscathed and acquires a torch for his troubles. Afterwards, we continue bringing the rest of the squad west to clear the remaining Pegasus Knights and cavalry, and go on a minor shopping spree to fully kit out every unit in the army. Normally, Hector would face a small crit percentage against the boss boys, but thanks to the sea support we got between him and Ellawood, he faced no such threat, and he is able to go ahead and beat the boss, receiving minor stat boosts. In Chapter 13X of our FE7 Mega Units Only Ironman, we are given the objective to protect the Merchant Merlinus. He is an extremely valuable unit which allows us access to our convoy, which is where you store excess items and weapons. If he dies in this chapter, it is an immediate game over, and thus he must be protected. Luckily, you can rescue him off his starting tile, which I do with my L6 light tank Lowen. The strategy for this map is simple in theory, but tends to go awry quickly if you miss a few important units on the first few turns. We send our M4 to the northeast bridge on the starting island with a javelin to hold the bridge while helping remove threats blocking the northwest bridge. We then place a mine west of Hector's starting position, but stupidly forget to equip his hand axe for the following enemy phase. Guy heads east with Matthew to help deal with oncoming shirtless men and nomads, while Dorcas clears out the southwest bandits, with the rest moving up to fill the northwest bridge. We're able to secure the island on turn 2 luckily, but Guy will have to face 3 brigands by himself since they ignored Matthew. The first brigand tells him he has no maidens, the second tells him he has no money, and the third said, "Sorry Tilted, I am taking that killing edge now," and Guy dies in the worst way possible. Damn it. Tragedy aside, we do still have a chapter to complete, so we have to send some units back to not only help Matthew, who is now trapped between several units, but also make sure Merlinus doesn't get targeted either. So I send the L6 back to pick up Merlinus, and then send Dorcas to help alleviate pressure on Matthew, so he can make his way to the northeast village. The enemy units that would go for the village are being stopped before they can get there by our main force, but the turn counter is playing against me here. By the time I get Matthew free, he only has 3 turns to get to the village while being chased by archers on horses. One thing to note is that if Matthew dies, it isn't an immediate game over, but I lose out on so much for my economy that I mostly consider resetting. And if it happens, you don't get another thief until chapter 20, which is extremely iffy with our low mobility. That aside, we are able to get to the village in time and scrape by without Matthew dying. But how goes the rest of the map? Well, it is slow going, but we are able to secure the center island completely and start pushing forward with Oswin and the M4. In order to claim land, I push aggressively with the rest of my army north to allow us as many opportunities to clear units out on our turn, while safeguarding squishier units in the back. Due to this, we are able to get some valuable experience onto Oswin, who will be one of our major units throughout the entire campaign, as well as a good amount spread between the rest of our army. We complete the chapter with no further deaths, but the muddy riverlands we just visited caused irreversible damage to our tank's treads, and they will be decommissioned if they have to trek through a rainstorm. But that surely wouldn't happen, right?